Welcome to chemistry class with an Christopher GK, your chemistry teacher, of course. This particular video, we are going to be looking at a very important topic in chemistry and aspect of chemistry. The topic of this particular video is chemical industries. Of course, chemistry, everything about chemistry has to do with chemical. Everything, every substance is a chemical. It's a chemical substance. So we want to talk about chemical industries. And it's expected that by the end of this particular video, you should have been able to know the types of chemical industry we have. You should be able to list them. You should be able to state the raw materials used in chemical industries and their sources. One of the things we want to achieve by the end of this video, once again, is you should be able to divide the chemical industries into heavy and fine chemicals. So you should be able to know this is a heavy chemical, this is a fine chemical. The next thing is that you should be able to list the importance of chemicals industry to individuals and nations. Be able to list their uses or their importance to individuals and nations, the nation. So we are going to take them one after the other as we run down this particular class. First of all, what actually is chemical industry? What are chemical industries? Or how can we explain it? The chemical industry comprises the companies that produce industrial chemicals. Chemical industry refers to industry which is involved in the business of making different products from raw materials through chemical reactions. These are the industries. These are the things that we refer to chemical industries. They're involved in the business of producing different products. Generally, the raw materials used in the chemical industries are oil, natural gas, metals, minerals, coal, salts, and the last but not the least is air. We have air and water. So we use all these things in production of one thing or the other. We use them in the industry. So the central to the modern world economy to convert raw materials into more than 70,000 different products. So chemical industries in this modern world, in modern age we are into, have the ability of converting the raw materials into more than 70,000 different products. That is a wonderful thing altogether. If we can use oil, natural gas, air, water, metal, and minerals to convert them into more than 70,000 products, this is the power and the wonders of chemical industries. All right, chemical industries have different types. They have different types, and they have been categorized based on the type of products they manufacture. So the major chemical industries are listed and explained below. Number one is heavy chemical industries, fine chemical industries, pharmaceutical company industries, fertilizer industries, cement industries, and plastic industries, ceramics industries, food and beverages industries, glass industries, metallurgical industries, soap and detergents industry, paint industries, cosmetic industries. So there are many of them, and we have been able to outline 13 industries, chemical industries. Still remember that we started with what? Heavy chemicals, fine chemicals, pharmaceutical, fertilizer, cement, plastic, ceramics, food and beverages, glass, metallurgical, soap and detergent, paint and cosmetic industries. These are the chemical industries that use one raw material or the other to produce several products. So with these industries, we can afford more than 70,000 products. That is a wonderful one. All right. Now let's talk about them one after the other. Take a look at the picture. This is an example of industry, heavy chemical industry. And you can see a massive building of such industry. Now let's talk about it a little. These industries produce chemicals used as raw materials by other chemical industries. Their products are usually manufactured in very large quantities because many industries depend on their products and so are in high demand. Because of that, what are the chemical industries, heavy chemical industries? Because that their raw materials, what they produce are in heavy demand, and many other chemical industries need them to produce one thing or the other. We call them heavy chemical industries. And what are the chemical industries? What are the heavy chemicals? If you ask examples of heavy chemicals, what are they? Number one is tetraoxosulfuric acid is a chemical and it's a heavy chemical because it's heavily used in the industry, and the several industries depend on it to produce one thing or the other. So it's the most important of them all, and it's used in the fertilizer industries. Sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide is being used in soap making and fiber and even the paper industries. Next one is sodium triisocarbonate 4. Of course, it's a chemical, and we know it's being used in glass, detergent, and water works. So we use it in that area, and it's another example of heavy chemical. The next one is sodium hydrogen triisocarbonate 4. It's also a heavy chemical, and it's being used in baking powder industry. So it's being used there, and it's being manufactured from where? Heavy chemical industry. So next one is sulfur oxide. It's also an example of heavy chemical, and it's being used in manufacture of tetraoxosulfate 6. Lastly, I want to talk about now is chlorine. Chlorine gas is used in textile and the paper industries, and also for bleaching. So these are examples of heavy chemicals that we can talk about now. And with that, I think we can name our outline at least 5, 6 of them as an example of heavy chemicals manufactured in heavy chemical industries. All right, fine chemicals. What do we mean by that? Fine chemical industries. They are produced in smaller quantity than heavy chemicals, but are equally important. They're also important, but they are not produced and needed as heavy as that of the heavy chemicals. They are not heavy because when you carry them, they are heavy. No, it's because that they are massively used and depended on in the industry. So this one is being produced in a smaller quantity than that of the heavy chemicals. However, they are still important. All right, these industries pay great attention to purity of their products, because the chemicals are used for sensitive and specific purposes. Now, some of the chemicals are something like, some of the products they do produce are something like drug, you see, cosmetics, additive for vehicle engine performances, analytical reagents, and some other examples. So these are some of the examples of fine chemicals, because they are not produced as heavy as that of the fine chemicals, but they depend on purity of it, and carefulness of it is being needed because of the nature of the purpose of which they are being used for. So these are the examples of fine chemicals which are being produced or manufactured at the fine chemical industries. All right, another one is pharmaceutical company. Of course, produce various chemicals used in hospitals, something like potassium bromide, mercury 2 nitrates, used of course as antiseptics for skin disease, calcium sulfate, which is plaster of Paris, iodine, antibiotics, insulin, magnesium tetraoxosulfate 6. These are the examples of pharmaceutical products produced, manufactured where are the pharmaceutical companies. And another one is what? Fertilizer industries. What do they do there? What do they manufacture? This industry produce fertilizers of various grades, such as ammonium tetraoxosulfate 6. Another one is ammonium triosonitrate 5, urea, as well as pesticide, germicide, herbicide, and fungicide. So these are products of what? Fertilizer industries of different kinds. Okay, and that one is cement industry. What do we do? Of course, these are industries. These industries are important to us because of what? Their products are used in the construction, industries in building bridges, houses, roads, drainages, and all of that. Cement becomes a very hard substance when mixed with water, sand, and gravels. So when mixed with all these things, it becomes very hard. And take a look at this. Cement contains quick limes, which is powdered sodium oxide. It contains clay. It contains some aluminum oxide. Now, these chemicals are obtained naturally from earth in form of limestone and in form of limestone, which is calcium triosocarbonate 4. We also call it calcium carbonate, and the aluminum oxide. And when heated strongly, the limestone changes to quick lime. Quick lime is calcium oxide. When it's being heated, it changes to calcium oxide and carbon 4 oxide. So when it's being heated, it breaks into carbon 4 oxide and calcium oxide. Now, this is a cement industry. Look at how beautiful it is. Of course, it's a place of work, and it's not a place where smile comes to on face. So this is just a site, a cement site where cement is being manufactured, is being made, and all of that. Okay. Another one is plastic industry, and of course, it's around us. Every house has plastic in one way or the other. And this is just a picture of that. Different type of plastic. All right. Plastic industries use simple organic compounds such as ethane, phenol, benzene, and many others obtained from where? Petroleum, crude oil, petroleum, and coal industries to make plastic in form of pellets or granulars. Other raw materials for plastic are phenol, cellulose, and vinyl chloride. Of course, you hear about polyethylene. It's from ethylene we get all these things. Ethylene, when it's been polymerized, we have polyethylene and different other materials that we get. So major source of it is hydrocarbon gotten from petroleum industries. All right. And vinyl, when it's been polymerized, we have polyvinyl chloride, which we have PVC, and all of that we use in our homes and other things. All right, there are two main types of plastic. One is thermoset and another one is thermoplastic. What is thermoplastic materials? How can we differentiate it from thermoset? Thermoplastic materials like plastic bottles, polyethylene bags, and some other household materials can be remolded after melting. We call them thermoplastic. This can be recycled by some factories to form other materials for human use. So they are thermoplastic industry because they can be recycled. Plastic materials that can be recycled is what we call thermoplastic. But those of thermoset, the one we call thermoset plastic, cannot be recycled, but are stronger and more durable, and so are usually used for furnitures. So there are, if you check plastic materials, you know that all of them are not of the same durability. They are not. Some of them are softer than others. So those of them that are very hard and that cannot be recycled into another product when melted is what we call thermosets. But those that can be recycled, any plastic material that can be recycled is what we call thermoplastic. All right, another company, another industry is what we call glass industry. And this is made from sand and it is cheap when compared with other materials. Silicon dioxide is a sand, and when treated with other chemicals like lead from glass, forms glass. This industry produces a lot of materials like glasswares, which we use cups and bowls, windows, panel, laboratory wares, and apparatus. Light bulbs and mirrors, etc. Glass can be colored or transparent depending on its uses. So in glass industries, we produce all these things. Some glasswares that we have. So this is supposed to be not waves, glassware wares. This should be R, not V. So that is a mistake, and note that. Okay, another one is raw material. We just want to talk a little about this. What do we mean by raw materials? When you hear about raw materials, what does it mean? It means a starting materials or ingredients for manufacturing. What is being used as a raw materials or starting materials for manufacturing anything is what we call raw materials. The raw materials for production may be products of another industry. For example, the raw material for the plastic industries are products of petroleum industries. Most primary or starting raw materials are obtained from nature. So petroleum metal ores, which is iron ore and all the ores, common source from sea, coal, limestone, sand, clay, and etc. These are primary raw materials that are being used to produce other materials and the chemicals that are being used to produce other materials or chemicals. So we get them naturally and they are being used to manufacture other things in the industries. All right, that is what we mean by chemical industries. That is what we mean by raw materials, and they are being used to manufacture one thing or the other. All right, what are some examples? What are some examples? We have raw materials, natural raw materials, some chemicals gotten from them, and what are the materials that is being produced through them. So from something like natural raw materials, now we have something like petroleum. Petrochemical industry materials, we got something like ethane, we get something like ethane, or benzene, or ethene, and ethane, many of them we get from it. And from them, materials that is being produced through them are plastic, pesticide, alkanols, beverages, fertilizers, etc. The next one is the earth crust, earth. We have limestone on the earth, beneath the earth, we have something like metal ore, we have clay and sand. That of the limestone we get under the soil, we use it through that we produce cement. That metal ore we produce metallic objects or products like containers, roofing sheets, vehicle bodies, etc. Something like clay or sand, we use it to produce something ceramic products like floor tiles, dishwares, bed tube, toilet bowls, and all of that. So these are the natural materials that we got, and the chemicals we get from them, and from that the product manufactured in the industry through them. Another one is plants. There are also natural resources, raw materials from plants, something like oil, palm oil, something like cocoa, something like rubber. That of the oil we produce, we get soap and margarine from it. So here supposed to have A after G, we have A here. So sorry for the mistake. M-A-G-A before the rain. So cocoa, we get chocolate and beverages. Rubber, we get tires and other rubber products. Something like another natural resources, raw material is seawater. It's been given to us by nature, and we get common salt from it, sodium chloride. And through that, we have a seasoning of cooking and starting materials for manufacture of many chemicals. So another natural raw material we have is air. It's given to us by nature, and through that we get oxygen and nitrogen. Oxygen, we use them in welding and the hospital for emergency when somebody cannot breathe very well again as aid to sustain a life. Nitrogen, we use it to produce ammonia, which is an important raw material in the manufacture of what? Fertilizer. All right, this is what we have done, and we want to look at the importance of chemical industries to individuals, to nations, and we will now end it now. To individuals, chemical industry provide employment for both skilled and unskilled people. Next one is that it's being used for treating of wounds. To nations, chemical industry provide earnings from foreign foreign trades. Next one, chemical industry improve the standard of living by providing many materials for domestic use, which could be too expensive if imported. So it provides us with materials for domestic use. But is there any hazardous issue? Is there any environmental problem in chemical industries? So let's look at the environmental problems created by chemical industries. Now, we need to understand that despite all the importance or advantages of these industries, they can constitute hazard or health hazard and menace to our communities where they are located, such as its waste can contaminate the air we breathe and even water we drink. So air pollution and water pollution will be caused by chemical industry. Next one is that it could also be noisy to cause noise. So to avoid this, careful thought may be placed on the selection of the sites to locate the industry. So when they are being located far away from the abode of people, where people are living, it will be better for that. So far, we have talked about chemical industries and said that it's what is being comprised of and what they produce, and they convert raw materials into about or more than 70,000 different products. And chemical industry can be categorized into different ways, depending on the products they produce. And despite their advantages, they can also constitute a health hazard to our lives and to community where it's been located. Thank you, and still remember that for further discussion and inquiry, you can get to me through my phone line. You can see on the screen, and or send me an email through my email address. But remember, if you are watching this particular video in YouTube, remember to subscribe to my channel so that whenever a new video is being uploaded, you will be notified on that. And with this, we'll end this particular video. Thank you for being part of this video, and remain blessed. And make sure that you watch the next video that is coming. Thank you.